Level 1. The Recruit. You are sitting in a room you've never been in before. You don't know the address. You were walked here, blindfolded for the last 10 minutes. The chair beneath you is plastic. The walls are bare. You wait. You joined because of your brother or your neighborhood, or something you saw that you were never supposed to see. The reason felt enormous when you made the decision. Now, in this room, it feels very small. A man walks in. He doesn't introduce himself. He slides a piece of paper across the table. On it is a single name. Not yours, not a code name from a movie. Nothing dramatic, just a name. David. That's you now, David. You thought today was the beginning. You were wrong. Your first assignment is a mop. A leaking bathroom in a safe house that smells like cigarettes and damp concrete. You clean it. You don't ask questions. Your second assignment is groceries. You carry bags to an apartment on the 3rd floor. A woman answers the door. She doesn't thank you. Doesn't even look at you. Your third assignment is a cafe. A corner table. Every day from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., you count police cars. You write the numbers in a notebook. You do this for 6 months. You thought they were testing your bravery. They weren't. They were testing something far more dangerous. And you passed. Level 2, the cell member. You're introduced to 3 people. You get their first names and nothing else. James, Sarah, Tomas. You will never know their last names. You will never know where they sleep. It's not rudeness. If you're caught, you can only destroy 3 people. That is the whole point. Your first real task arrives on a Tuesday. There is a man, a local official, mid-level, unimportant looking. You are given a photograph. You are told to learn his life, so you learn it. He leaves for work at 7:43 a.m. Not 7:45, 7:43. His wife drives a gray sedan. She takes the kids to school on Wednesdays and Fridays. He stops at the same bakery every morning. He never checks under his car before getting in. You write all of this down. You watch him buy milk on a Sunday afternoon. His youngest is on his shoulders. This kid is laughing at something. You write down the time, and you write down which exit he uses. You go home that night and sit in the dark. You're not fighting soldiers. You're watching a father buy milk. And you wrote it down anyway. You look at your own street differently now. Your neighbor who asks too many questions. The man who sits in his car too long. Your mother who would collapse if she knew what you do. Everyone is something now. A target, an informant, a liability. You haven't touched a weapon yet, but you are already changed. Level 3, the Courier. You don't build anything, and you don't plan anything, and you move things. That is your entire job. You're the artery, and arteries don't ask questions. They hand you a gym bag. It is heavy. You don't look inside. You were told not to. Very clearly. You have a route. You memorized it yesterday. You will never use this exact route again. You know 3 alternates. You know 2 drop points. You know what a chalk mark on a green mailbox means. It means go. You know what a folded newspaper on a bench means. It means run. You board a public bus. You sit down, you put the bag between your feet, you look out the window, the bag weighs 20 pounds. You know what 20 pounds of ammonium nitrate can do? You don't think about that. You think about looking bored. A woman next to you complains about the weather. You agree with her. You smile. The bus slows at a checkpoint. 2 officers board. They walk the aisle. One of them looks at you. You look back. Not too fast, not too slow, just bored. He moves on. You get off 4 stops later. You leave the bag at the lockup. You chalk the mailbox. You walk away. You grew up on these streets. You know every corner, every shortcut, every face. But the city isn't yours anymore. It is a grid now. Threats and exits. Nothing else. And somewhere someone is already packing the next bag with your name on it. Level 4. The bomb maker. You live underground now, basements, windowless garages, rooms with no natural light. You have forgotten what the sun feels like on your face. You smell like bleach and diesel and fertilizer. Your hands are always slightly raw from the chemicals. You scrub them every night. The smell doesn't leave. You're the most valuable person in the organization. They tell you this. It doesn't feel like a compliment. It means you never leave. It means you never fight. It means you are kept alive and hidden like something fragile and expensive, because that is exactly what you are. You work with volatile chemicals in plastic tubs. You work slowly. You work carefully. You know what happened to the man who trained you? Static electricity. A bad wire. They said it was instant. You don't entirely believe that. Every time you connect a blasting cap to a timer, your hands shake. Just slightly. You have learned to work through the shaking. You finish a device on a Thursday. They tell you it's for a military convoy on the Northern Road. You hand it over. You go back to your basement. You sleep. 2 days later, you're handed a newspaper. You read the headline. A cafe. 20 miles from the Northern Road. 11 dead. 3 of them are young. The photo shows an overturned table. A child's shoe. You built that. You didn't choose the target. You didn't pull any trigger, but your hands made the thing that did. Level 5, the cell leader. You survived. That is the only qualification that matters now. You survived long enough and made few enough mistakes. And now someone above you decided to trust you with other people's lives. You command 3 cells, 12 people total. You know their first names, you know their faces. Some of them remind you of yourself 5 years ago. Angry, certain, still believing the cause is clean. You receive orders through a courier, sometimes through a dead drop, never in person. You pass the orders down. You're the firewall. That is the exact word they used when they promoted you. Firewall. Then one Tuesday it happens. One of your recruits is taken, state police, a checkpoint that wasn't supposed to be there. He is 22 years old. He joined because his neighborhood was shelled. You remember the feeling. You have 4 hours, maybe less. You know he will talk. It's not that he is weak, it's just that everyone talks eventually. That is just biology. You start making calls, safe houses emptied, weapons moved. 3 people relocated before midnight. You sever every connection, clean and fast. You don't attempt to rescue. You tell yourself it's because it would compromise the network. You tell yourself the cause is bigger than one person. You tell yourself this is strategy, not abandonment. But you left a 22-year-old kid in a room with state police. And somewhere in the back of your mind, a quiet voice tells you something uncomfortable. You sound exactly like them now. Level 6, the intelligence officer. You don't touch weapons anymore. You haven't in over a year. And your hands are clean now. That is what you tell yourself. But it's not exactly what's happening. You deal in people. That is your entire job. You find people with cracks in them and you widen the cracks until they work for you. There's a clerk, low-level, government payroll office. He has a gambling problem, a serious one, the kind that has a number attached to it. You pay the number. You smile. You shake his hand. You tell him you're glad you could help, and now he is yours. That is how simple it is. It's called the MICE framework. Money, ideology, coercion, ego. You pick the right lever for the right person, and you pull it. You have 11 sources now. Inside the police, inside the municipal government, inside the military's logistics division. Then one morning your clerk calls. The state police are planning a raid. A neighborhood that shelters your people. Families, old men, women with children. The raid is in 48 hours, so you could warn them, but you don't. Because warning them burns your source, and your source is worth more than one raid. That is the cold calculation you make before your second coffee of the morning. You watch the news that night, doors kicked in, people dragged out, a woman crying on her front step. You protected your network. You tell yourself that was the right decision. You almost believe it, but you notice something. You no longer have a face that exists in public, no photographs, no routines, no name that is real. You're a ghost in the city where you were born, and ghosts don't get to feel guilty. Level 7, the regional commander. You control a territory now, not a room, not a cell. A territory, streets, neighborhoods, border crossings. Hundreds of fighters who wake up every morning and take orders that trace back to you. You thought this level would feel like power. It feels like accounting. You sit at a table covered in papers, not maps, spreadsheets. Bullets cost money. Safe houses cost money. Bribing a border guard costs money. Feeding 300 people in the field costs money. You spend more time on logistics than tactics. More time on funding than fighting. So you collect taxes. That is the word you use internally. Taxes. The restaurant owner on the corner pays every month. The construction company that wants to operate in your territory, it pays every month. They don't have a choice. You tell yourself this is how all governments function. You tell yourself this is necessity. Then a rival group moves in from the east. They share your cause. They believe the same things you believed when you were sitting in that plastic chair in that bare room years ago. They are not your enemy ideologically, but they are cutting into your funding. They are operating in your territory. They are a threat to your control. You order your men to attack them. 3 of them die. 2 of yours die too. You file it under necessary losses. You started this because of a cause, a belief, something that felt enormous and clean and worth dying for. Look at what you're doing now. You are killing your own side to protect a tax route. Level 8, the political wing. You wear a suit now, a good one. You have a hotel room in Geneva with a window that looks out over a lake. The water is clean and still, very far from the basements and the plastic tubs and the chalk marks on mailboxes. You give interviews. You shake hands with journalists from serious newspapers. You use specific words, and you never deviate from them. Armed struggle, legitimate resistance, regrettable circumstances. You practice these phrases until they stop feeling like lies. That took longer than you expected. Your job is to make the machine look like a movement, to make the violence look like necessity, to make the world feel uncomfortable about condemning you. Then a bomb goes off in a market, a Tuesday morning. 20 civilians. The images are on every screen within the hour. Children, produce scattered across the pavement. A man sitting in the rubble looking at nothing. Your phone rings before the smoke clears. You go on television that evening, calm, measured. You condemn the attack. You call it the work of rogue elements. You express deep sorrow. You look directly into the camera. You are very convincing. You are convincing because you have been doing this for years. But 3 weeks before that Tuesday, you sat in a room and approved the funding that paid for that operation. You didn't know the target was a market, maybe. You didn't ask, definitely. The suit is clean, the hands inside it are not, and the journalist across the table smiles and thanks you for your time. Level 9, the external sponsor. You don't live in the country where the war is happening. You have never lived there. You have visited twice, both times in disguise, both times for less than 72 hours. You work in an office building in a capital city very far away. You have a desk, a coffee machine down the hall, a supervisor who plays golf on weekends. You file reports, you attend briefings. You're a government employee with a pension plan. And you're the reason 300 people in a country you have visited twice are still alive and armed. You supply them with things they could never acquire alone. Surface-to-air missiles, encrypted radios, sniper rifles with ranges that change the entire geometry of a battlefield. You don't do it because you believe in their cause. You do it because their enemy is your government's enemy. That is the entire equation. That is all it has ever been. You have met the commander once. He looked at you like you were salvation. You shook his hand and smiled and felt nothing in particular. Then the political winds shift. They always shift eventually. Your government wants to normalize relations with the state your insurgents are fighting. Trade agreements, diplomatic summits, and handshakes in large rooms. You receive the order on a Wednesday morning. Cut the funding immediately. Destroy the communication channels, sever everything. You do it before lunch. That evening you watch satellite feeds. The insurgency is collapsing without the supply lines. Fighters are being overrun. People you armed and trained and kept alive for 6 years are dying in real time on a screen above your desk. You file your report. You go home. You're already thinking about the next assignment. Level 10. The Ghost. The war ends. Maybe your side won. Maybe your side lost. It doesn't feel different either way. You're sitting in a quiet town either way. You have a quiet street. The house is small. The neighbors wave at you in the mornings. They think you're a retired civil servant. Something boring. Something unremarkable. That is the last cover you will ever use. And unlike all the others, you never take it off. Someone gave you a medal once. In a room with no windows, no ceremony, no audience. A man handed you a small box and nodded once. The medal is in a sock in the back of a drawer. You haven't looked at it in 2 years. You wake up at 3 a.m. You check the locks. You already knew they were locked. You check them before bed. You check them again anyway. You sit at restaurants with your back to the wall. You count the exits before you order. You memorize the license plates of cars that park on your street more than twice in a week. Your brain is still running the old software. It doesn't know the war is over. It may never know. You think about the recruit sometimes. The one you abandoned. The bomb maker in his basement. The clerk with the gambling debts who thought you were his friend. The thing that felt enormous and clean the day you sat in that plastic chair in that bare room. You think about the cause. You cannot remember the last time it felt like anything at all. The war is over. But somewhere tonight a young kid is walking into a room he doesn't know to meet a man whose name he will never learn. He has a reason that feels enormous. He's about to be handed a mop, or a notebook, or a grocery bag, and the cycle starts again.